So even though it's been a few years since it happened now, I thought I'd do a video all about the Nazi PUG man, Mark Meechan, who was fined 800 quid for posting a video online of his girlfriend's pug doing a Hitler salute to the command of Gas the Jews and Sieg Heil. Apart from being like a rather amusing idea, I think, sort of in a general sense, the last time any amount of furore like this was raised over a dog doing a Nazi salute was actually in 1941, when the dog Jackie was trained by its owner Torborg. Jackie was a Dalmatian, by the way, trained by its owner Torborg to do a Nazi salute in 1941 while he was living in Finland, where he was a Finnish businessman rather. And this is what the journalist Klaus Hillebrand has to say about it. The dog affair tells us that the Nazis were not only criminals and mass murderers, they were silly as hell. There are very few things you can laugh about because what they did was so monstrous. But there were 2 or 3 dozen people discussing the affair of the dog rather than preparing the invasion of the Soviet Union. They were crazy. Yeah, exactly. This is the last time someone got this upset about a dog doing a Nazi salute was in Nazi Germany. Think about that. And a magistrate's court in Scotland, because of sort of the incredibly reactionary nature, I think, of political correctness on the extreme left now in the United Kingdom, they choose to arrest this guy for this silly incident with a ridiculous little animal like a pug and take him to court and all this sort of thing and fine him 800 quid. It's asinine, it's ridiculous, it's petty, it's and it's stupid, and it does raise implications about the freedom of expression and what we may or may not say and do on the internet, and it smacks of being, I don't know, it's like reductio ad Nazium, but I don't want to coin a term like that, frankly. Reductio ad Hitlerum is the actual reductio thing, but yeah, the last time someone was investigated, and the Nazis didn't even really take that much action against this guy Torborg, but yeah, Torborg was investigated by the Nazis for training his Dalmatian to do a Nazi salute, and that the Nazis thought that this was ridiculing Hitler. So that's the precedent that's already been set in history for this Nazi pug case. As for the Nazi pug man, I think there's also an interpretation of that act that sort of seeks to suggest that it makes Nazism look a bit ridiculous. It sort of compares, I suppose, the Nazis to dogs. They're as manipulable and easy to train as dogs are, or something like that, possibly. And I'm going to say like 1 or 2 things in defence of the verdict that was handed down to him, since he said in court, the court ruled that Meechan's claim that the video was a joke intended for his girlfriend lacked credibility, as Meechan's girlfriend did not subscribe to the YouTube channel to which the video was posted. Yeah, I wouldn't have said that in court. That smacks actually being a lie to me. I think the court may have ruled, not in his favour, but they may have ruled guilty on this count because he lied in court. And frankly, the penalty for perjuring yourself is usually a hell of a lot more than 800 quid. I think the real reason he was doing it obviously was to try and accumulate popularity and a following online. So I don't think that could really be, justified quite so much. But yeah, obviously posting a video of a Nazi saluting pug is a complete non-issue. It's a waste of police time to so much as pursue it. And rightly, British comedians such as Ricky Gervais and Jewish, by the way, David Baddiel made comments supporting Meechan. Yeah, quite right. This is also from Wikipedia. Others who opposed the prosecution include Keena Malik, Tim Blair, Helen Dale, Douglas Murray, Tom Walker, Shafi Khorshandy, Mark Grandazza, Jonathan Turley and Stephen Fry. Also Jewish Stephen Fry. Index on Censorship CEO Jodie Ginsberg stated the right to free expression must include the right to offend, otherwise the freedom is meaningless. Yeah, unfortunately we must reserve the right to offend one another or be offensive. I've had this myself. I've sort of danced upon that line between causing offence and not causing offence on stage, and it's a tricky one to dance, but it must be danced. The envelope must be pushed as to what can cause offence and what can't. We're into very dangerous territory indeed if we truly are all singing from the same hymn sheet and no one gets offended by anything. We turn into a society of mindless drones who don't think for ourselves and don't ever say anything that cuts against the grain of the status quo and societal norms. You know, and don't post videos of Nazi saluting pugs. Which I watched the video, I like the idea of it, that's the thing. I didn't actually like how it came across in practice. I just didn't find it funny. I didn't find it offensive as such though. I just felt it was, like, the idea was brilliant, but the execution of it could have been better. That's from like a comedic standpoint. And then like Meechan's gone on to run for the UKIP, which, I mean, I have to say makes me less of a fan of him, and he since left UKIP and joined the Libertarians, and I'm a Libertarian. I'm a member of the UK Libertarian Party. And he's been condemned as far right, and like Meechan was scrutinised for embracing support from right-wing figures such as Alex Jones and Tommy Robinson, to which implied, imagine totally abandoning protecting human rights just because someone you don't like is defending them too. Astounding. But he seems to like shacked up with UKIP, which in the minds of most people is almost like the BNP, I think, or the EDL or whatever. Or in the minds of a lot of people, I should say. But whatever, you know. UKIP, the UKIP has the right to the freedom of expression, as do the EDL. And yeah, I mean, this incident of the Nazi pug man, it does sort of fly in the face of our basic rights, and no one's talking about it, or no one, well, people have talked about it in the past, but no one's still talking about it. As I understand it from the Wikipedia page, he's made several efforts to have it overturned, or to have this conviction overturned, via the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission, the Sheriff Appeal Court, and he's tried to take it to the Supreme Court, but it was rejected. I don't think the Supreme Court actually deals with cases like that though, does it? Doesn't the Supreme Court deal with more like constitutional matters? Meechan stated his intention to bring the case to the European Court of Human Rights. Yeah. Yeah. On 16th, I'll go into his politics a little bit. 16th of June 2018, Meechan announced he joined UKIP along with fellow YouTubers Carl Benjamin and Paul Joseph Watson, i.e. Sargon of Akkad and Thunderfoot, in what Watson described as an attempted soft coup. In April 2019, Meechan said he intended to stand at MEP on behalf of UKIP in the upcoming 2019 European Parliament election in the United Kingdom. He was named fourth on the UKIP's list in Scotland, but was not elected after UKIP only won 1.8% of the vote in Scotland. In November 2019, Meechan posted a video announcing that he left UKIP, citing internal disputes and backstabbing within the party over their leadership as his reason for leaving. Yeah. That's what UKIP strikes me as anyway. It strikes me as being somewhat reactionary and bigoted as a political party in a general sense, but also rather shabby, shambling and disorganised on both levels. It seems like the Harumph Club to me. You know what I mean? The sort of the club full of Godfrey Bloom types who go "Rrr" whenever something about political correctness is mentioned. But now that the more I think about it, the more I think maybe his conviction under the Communications Act was actually sort of a magistrate being lenient for him trying to establish a ridiculous defence in court. And I go down to why the appeal court rejected it. The appeal court rejected it. Sheriff O'Carroll noted that there were only very limited submissions from the defence and the prosecution on the matter of the law as it regards freedom of expression. Because of this, the trial was concerned ultimately with the narrow fact-based question of whether the Crown has proved beyond reasonable doubt that you're using a public communications network on one day to post a video onto your YouTube channel constituted an offence contrary to section 127 of the Communications Act. He said the ruling sets no precedent. Is it grossly offensive? It might be offensive, but what constitutes gross offence? And how, by the way, can it not set precedent if this is seen to constitute gross offence? It certainly does set precedent, surely. Ridiculous ruling, anyway. David Coburn, the UK Independence Party member of the European Parliament of Scotland, released a two-page statement condemning the ruling as an embarrassment. Philip Davies, a Conservative MP for Shipley, brought up Meechan's case in the House of Commons. Can we have a debate about freedom of speech in this country? Something this country has long held dear and is in danger of throwing away needlessly. Yeah. Maybe I'm being too woke. I'm coming down on the side of supporting the decision of that court. I can't believe myself. No, I couldn't. It's ridiculous. Just because he's a member of UKIP, for fuck's sake. I am too woke, I think. I think it's Stuart Lee's fault as well. I'll blame him for it. No, I won't blame him for it. Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing to get offended by. If you genuinely get offended by that, you know, you need your head examined. If you get offended by a Nazi saluting dog of any description, I think the moral of the story is, if you're getting offended by a Nazi saluting dog, you're more similar to a Nazi than you think you are. As I said at the beginning of the video, the last people to get offended by Hitler's saluting dog were the acolytes of Adolf Hitler, the Nazis. And I think it raises a good case it's a good case in point because, you know, the Nazi regime was a totalitarian regime, and this sort of thing, if it's considered punishable under law, makes for, well, a totalitarian application of the law of this Communications Act business, which all too often is applied in a way that at least smacks of totalitarianism. So, yeah, what a shambolic misuse of the law and what a shambolic miscarriage of justice, I think, in my opinion, to sort of home in on a final opinion on the Nazi PUG man. But yeah, I mean, just to play devil's advocate, you got fined 800 quid, sorry, for lying in court, essentially. Should probably just been happy with that and shut the fuck up, frankly. The court ruled that Meechan's claim that the video was a joke intended for his girlfriend lacked credibility. Yes, it did lack credibility. You were trying to get internet fame. Arrested on suspicion of breaching the Communications Act 2003. 19th of March 2018, Meechan was convicted of breaching that by Sheriff Derek O'Carroll of Airdrie Sheriff Court. The police should never have been involved with it. It should have stopped. I think this is more like the fault of the police than anything else. Yeah, that's probably more like the truth. So I think the police ought never have gotten involved in the first place because of what a trifling, trivial and petty matter this really is. And if anything, should have gone round to his house and said, some people are getting upset about your Nazi, but they shouldn't have even done that. That's the thing, they most certainly shouldn't have arrested him for it. It smacks of a paranoid state, or paranoid individuals acting on behalf of the state. If that needs to be taken as anything at all, or the amount of seriousness with which an issue like that ought to be taken, is that the police should look at it. A man has, look at the report coming through, a man has posted a video of a Nazi saluting dog on the internet. What should we do about this? Oh, nothing at all. Obviously. Haven't you got bigger fish to fry as the police in Scotland, of all places? Haven't you got some serious heroin dealers to track down? Or is heroin not still a thing in Scotland? You know, isn't there I don't know, I know Scotland's coming up in the world and so on and so forth since the 1990s, whenever Trainspotting was filmed. You know, since those sorts of times in Scotland. But isn't there still real crime to fight in Scotland? To some extent, at least. You know? And not this trivial bullshit. Yeah, is the police's fault on this one. I reckon. And is the fault of the police, the Crown Prosecution Service, and to some extent Mark Meechan in court by lying. Wasn't intended for his girlfriend, it was intended for his YouTube fan base. He did get off lightly with 800 quid for trying to bullshit a court of law. And they sort of just slapped him down with a little 800 quid fine, no prison sentence. And he sort of got off a bit lightly for that one. And I think that is the moral of the story. But it should never have gotten to court. That is also the truth. So thank you everyone for watching. Bye bye bye. That's been my analysis of the issues surrounding the Nazi pug man. So thank you very much. Bye everyone. Bye bye bye. Love you lots.